The ID. Okay, so this chapter is about history's most famous psychologist, Sigmund Freud. When I first met my ex-best friend Neil, he taught me a few things and pieces of knowledge that will remain with me forever. Two such things were Maslow's hierarchy, if needs, and Freud's breakdown of the human psyche. Freud said the human mind is made up of three components: the ID, the ego, and the superego. The ID is the subconscious part of the brain, the voice in you telling you to put yourself first and satisfy your every need, with no care for the world around you or the rules of the society you inhabit. The ego is the third-person perception of self, sculpted by the world's attitudes and the stories cast upon you by others. This is the good cop voice in your head that makes you feel shame for being selfish, fear karmic or divine repercussions, and view how your actions affect others around you. The superego is how you perceive your role in society, assess what your character and storyline is in the overlaying narrative arc, and empathize with other people's perspectives. As I have explained earlier, the higher powers of the Disney and Warner Bros. Corporations have been trying to sign my arse since before I could even make words. In 2010, when I was putting the finishing touches to my debut album, Stop Trying to Be Black, my mum informed me that she had been contacted by some lawyers from Warner Records who were interested in signing me. I emailed a lawyer named Dan back and forth, and he told me that his colleague, Nick, aka UK hip-hop rapper Essa, would finalize the deal, but he was currently on holiday, to which he arrogantly and creepily quipped, "Even rappers take holidays, you know." And he told me not to release any music until Nick returned. By my estimations, these instructions were mind games from the higher powers via Dan, as they knew I had a weed addiction and needed to get some money from my music ASAP or else continue my life of crime and end up in prison. So I thought fuck Warner Bros. And dropped the album that summer independently and got 9K views on the debut single on YouTube in about a week. I listened to my ID and became the god you see before you today, instead of a bitch like Tinny Tempa or Stormzy or whoever they got to try and replace me and failed. At the same period, my mum introduced me to a man named Nigel, who was interested in producing my first film. "Mr. Peckett, I wrote a film." What made me find Nigel sus was that he wanted to meet me after reading just the opening scene of the screenplay. I hadn't even finished writing the thing, and he already wanted my soul. I told myself that wanted to take control of the project, and I wasn't wrong. It was obvious, and I will not compromise my art for anyone, especially my life story. As far as I recall from the stoned haze of 2010, he came to my mum's house and just stood in the living room with his hands on his hips looking out the window with his back to me. And when I didn't start sucking up to him or pandering to his fickle grasp on his manhood, he stormed out again. Pedophile ass. To this day, Mum says the story went like this. Nigel came to meet me and I was in bed, and when she coaxed me to come meet him in the living room, I said, "I'm the star, he should come to me." Like, the fuck? Who even says that? Asking grown men to come to their bedroom, dream on. This story is a big bone of contention between me and my mum because we're both adamant it went down in different ways. Nevertheless, Nigel's a pedo, end of. Nevertheless, I explained to her recently that even if I did say that I am the star, I was in the right because the world needs at least one cocky, arrogant, star-studded man-diva in its midst to have something to aspire to as a beacon of hope. And I sign that the higher powers can't kill all our spirits, like my dad was. There always has to be one star at the top of the mountain, otherwise the world would sink into depression, because the only art available would be made by humble Burks talking about how many dicks they can fit in their arse in one go, and there'd be nobody to put them in their place like I do. My mum replied, "That's just the id. We all had it as children, but it had to be driven out of us to become adults." I laughed in her face because why the hell is she, an African woman, trying to teach me about Western psychology, especially when she doesn't even know it's called the ID, not the id. Then I explained that we have the ID for a reason. The ID is all about self-preservation, death prevention, and self-satisfaction. It tells us to eat when we're hungry, bathe when we're dirty, and sleep when we're tired. The ID tells us to find good shelter, fight our competition, and pursue the most eligible members of the opposite sex. All of this is for the purpose of procreation. The end game is to produce his strongest, most beautiful offspring possible. Therefore, the ID is in our minds for the purpose of perpetuation human life in this universe. If you want to drive out or suppress your own ID, that's whatever. But don't bring that shit around me, or I'll hurt you physically, emotionally, and financially. I want to find my perfect partner and make my perfect bobbies. So sorry. I won't be neglecting my ID anytime soon, or bathing in tap water every day either, for that matter. Thank you for your time, and goodbye.